you all doing? This is the Tennis World with the Tennis Expert. I am your tennis expert. A big warm welcome to my viewers right around the world. I just want to review. I just want to review the U.S. Open. Sorry about that. Moving for a minute. The U.S. Open final, the 2025 U.S. Open final. Carlos Alcaraz of Spain has taken down Yannick Sinner of Italy in 4 sets, right? So when I previewed this final, what did I say about the match, right? I said Alcaraz would win in 4 or 5 sets, and I gave the reasons why. I said because if you go back to 2022 Wimbledon, you saw them play that year, and Sinner was better in 4 sets because he was better on grass. Then when they moved to the US Open, it went down to a fifth set and it came down to a few points. They were the same level in that year, that's just 6 weeks apart, but it changed when they moved to the US Open, where they were equal and it came down to the big points, and Alcaraz won, whereas on grass, Sinner was better. I feel like they've both improved equally since then. So I said, just like Sinner won again in 4 sets, it'll switch as you move to the US Open. If they're playing at their best, should be very close, should be a fifth set, should come down to the big points. And just like in 2022, Alcaraz should win. But I said, that's on the basis they're playing their best. If Alcaraz is playing his best and Sinner is not, it would be 4 sets. 5 sets, very close match like 2022 if they're both playing their best. And the reason why I mentioned Sinner might not be playing his best because I saw against Shapovalov when a high level was against him, Sinner couldn't handle it and he dropped his level and he really struggled. And I'm like, Alcaraz is going to do better than that. And if you play like that, you're in trouble. Same with his semi-final against Aliassime. The time when Aliassime picked up his level, Sinner didn't just get to 1 set all. He was facing going down a break. He was in real trouble of losing that match. But I'm like, when he plays Alcaraz, Alcaraz is going to do it better and more consistently. So if he's like that version of Sinner, the way he struggled against Shapovalov and Aliassime, Alcaraz is going to do all those things much better and much consistent. And he was in real trouble those matches, so then he'll be even real big trouble against Alcaraz. So in that case, I said 4 sets for Alcaraz. But if they're both at their best, I just said Sinner's better on grass and Australian Open fast hard courts. Alcaraz better on clay. Medium pace court, they're equal, and Alcaraz will win because of the big points. So I didn't know which one it was going to be, but I said it was either 4 or 5, and I told you how it would be 4 and how it would be 5. And the Sinner that had trouble with Aliassime and Shapovalov and couldn't really handle a very good level against him, and it being worse playing against Alcaraz because Alcaraz was going to do it even better, that's what we saw. And Alcaraz did do it better than Shapovalov and Aliassime. He didn't just get him in trouble under pressure at 1 set all. He won in 4 sets. And 2 of the sets when he was playing that high level, just like against Aliassime and Shapovalov, Sinner couldn't handle the good level. It was like he lost 2 sets, 6-1, 6-2. So like I said, the struggles he had against Aliassime and Shapovalov would be nothing because Alcaraz would bring a much higher level and Sinner would be even more trouble, and that's exactly what happened. Alcaraz did bring a higher level. Sinner was in even more trouble and lost sets 6-1, 6-2. And then the other 2 sets, I would say the 4th set was pretty equal, but again, there was a bad service game for Sinner, where they weren't playing a lead at the same time, where they played great the whole set, but Sinner had one poor game which cost him the set. And again, going back to the Aliassime Shapovalov, but Alcaraz is getting him in even more trouble. And then there's the 6-1 and 6-2 sets. So I gave you 2 choices. 5 sets if they're both playing their best, but if he brings Aliassime Shapovalov, it's 4 sets because Alcaraz will be even better than them, and that's exactly what happened. And the 2 sets that Sinner lost, 6-1 and 6-2, were the example of him playing like he did against Aliassime and Shapovalov, but Alcaraz being much better and completely destroying him in those sets. The rest of the match, Sinner was more like the normal level of Sinner. Like I said, the 5 set, which would make a 5 set. And then other than those 2 sets, they won 1 set each. But in the fourth set, there was that one bad game by Sinner, which did cost him when you're playing at an elite level. So Alcaraz, but then at the same time, this version of Sinner, which struggled against Aliassime and Shapovalov, was there in this final, and that cost him the match. But at the same time, we've seen a better version of Alcaraz than we've ever seen. A version that said, I'm going to win against everyone in straight sets, and only if you're the biggest rival Sinner, you get 1 set, everyone else gets none. So when Sinner's a bit off and Alcaraz is better than he's ever been, we get this 4 set victory. So now Alcaraz is your 2025 champion. They split the 4 Grand Slams 2 each. Sinner gets the Australian Open, Alcaraz the French, Sinner Wimbledon, and Alcaraz the US Open, so they're taking turns. First Grand Slam, Sinner Australian Open, second Alcaraz French Open, third Sinner Wimbledon, fourth Alcaraz US Open, and 2 each, whereas last year they also split it 2 each. Last year they also split the Grand Slams 2 each. The difference was then it was Alcaraz winning French Open and Wimbledon, and the 2 hard courts, US Open, Australian Open for Sinner. But this time they're the US Open and Wimbledon split, but both 2024 and 2025, Alcaraz, Sinner share the Grand Slams 2 each. And in 3 of the 4 Grand Slam finals, Alcaraz and Sinner meet, the Australian Open, I think the new consistent peak of Alcaraz started in April this year, so the Australian Open was in January. So, I mean, we could see, I'm sure we'll see them meeting again because this new version of Alcaraz against Sinner will be there the next Australian Open, and they'll probably meet the 4th Grand Slam final in a row now. A lot of people said Sinner is more consistent than Alcaraz. Why? But I pointed to the fact that Sinner's 24 and Alcaraz is 22, so you need to give... if you look back to 2023, Sinner was not consistent. He had not even won 1 Grand Slam. At least Alcaraz was winning Grand Slams. It was only in 2024 he became consistent. But remember, if Alcaraz is a year and a half to 2 years younger, you need to give him a year and a half to 2 years. And look, the following year, 2025, he is now just as consistent as Sinner. Because most players' peak started at 22. This consistent run started in April, and Alcaraz turned 22 in May. If you look at a lot of the best players, Sampras won his first Grand Slam at 22. So did Federer. Djokovic won his first at 20, but then didn't win for 3 years, and his peak really started at 23. So Sinner was a year or 2 older. So after Sinner's consistency started in 2024, Alcaraz started in 2025. But the good news for Alcaraz is his peak started in April, so we're going to say since his peak started, he's won 2 Grand Slams. But he was able to pull off 4 Grand Slams even while he was inconsistent before his peak started. So now he's at 6 Grand Slams. So I've got to say the Grand Slam race between the two is 6 for Alcaraz, right? 4 for Sinner. But Alcaraz is almost 2 years younger, 22. So if you look at Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic's achievements, Federer was ahead in the Grand Slam race in most of the achievements. Then Nadal broke his record, then Djokovic. So the older guy was always first, and that's how it should be. But in this case, Alcaraz is the guy 2 years younger, and he's 2 Grand Slams ahead, 6-4. So I think that speaks volumes about Alcaraz. And I told you guys on this channel, he is going to get 30 Grand Slams. If you compare him to the same age, Pete Sampras was only winning his first Grand Slam right now. So was Federer, was at 1. Djokovic was at 1. Okay, Nadal was at 5, and Nadal ended up with the second most, 22, and only because of his body he didn't get the most. So that shows you, even if you have an injury, if you start your career like this, even if you have an injury-plagued career, you still get to 22 because you have that head start. But if you're a bit better than Nadal's injuries, then you do better. And even where Nadal was, he's even ahead. He has 6 Grand Slams at this age. Nadal has 5. Djokovic, Federer, and Sampras had 1. So he's way ahead. He's 6 times ahead of Djokovic, and that's the guy he's chasing. And Nadal, who had an injury-plagued career, and had 5 at this age, still got 22. And I'm seeing he's had some injuries, but it's nothing like Nadal. So if he has to have extreme injuries and end up 22, but just say 23 because he's one ahead of Nadal, um, then if he doesn't have an injury play, he gets much more than that. He only needs to get one more than 23, get to 24. So on the balance of probabilities, I'm saying what I've said all along. Carlos Alcaraz gets around 30 Grand Slams. Okay, it could be 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. It could be more than 30. But I'm saying on the balance of probabilities, I'm giving Alcaraz 30 Grand Slams. And then, like, if you look at it, Djokovic at this age had one Grand Slam and got 24. So from Alcaraz's age onwards, right, how many Grand Slams did Djokovic get? He got 23 because he had one at this age and got 24. So he got 24 three more Grand Slams past Alcaraz's age, right? Whereas Alcaraz doesn't need to do what Djokovic did and get 23 Grand Slams. He's already at 6 and Djokovic got 24. He needs 18. He doesn't need 24. He doesn't need 23, what Djokovic did beyond this age. So he doesn't even need to be as good as Djokovic was at the rest of his career. And then the other thing is, remember, Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic were the three best players of all time, up until now at least, and they had to split the Grand Slams three ways. If you've got Alcaraz and Sinner and you're splitting it two ways, that means there's more Grand Slams. So, for example, Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic combined got 66 Grand Slams, and they split it three ways. So you got 20, 22, 24. But if there was only two of them and not three, they would have split it. Other guys wouldn't have beat them. They would only beat each other. So those 66 Grand Slams would have been split two ways. So like one guy would have got, just say 32 and the other guy 34. But because they had to share it between, they wouldn't have got less. Other guys wouldn't have beat them. They would have only beat each other. So if they share it two ways, they both get over 30. But they couldn't do that because there were three of them and they all get over just 20. Whereas Alcaraz has an advantage. He will share it two ways between him and Sinner, which if the big three had that, they would have got over 30 themselves. But then when you add that one, Alcaraz is ahead of them at the same time with 6 Grand Slams. Those guys had 1 or 5 Grand Slams in Nadal's age, and 2 for the rest of his career. He only needs to split the Grand Slams 2 ways, not 3 ways like the big three did. So that's like another point of evidence. And I just think and then the other thing is, to even beat Djokovic's record, he doesn't even need to be as good as Djokovic. Djokovic had to win 23 more Grand Slams past 22. He only needs 18, right? But then it's going to be even easier than Djokovic because Djokovic had a big three. He's with a big two. So he might get even more than the 23 Grand Slams that Djokovic got for the rest of his career. But he's already got 6, so that already puts him at 29. But anyway, I'm saying Alcaraz gets 30. He's at 6 Grand Slams. The only guy who had more, I think, was Bjorn Borg, and Bjorn Borg retired at 26, so that's not even a comparison for the history books. Alcaraz is going to get 30, and just like if you look at it, he's got a backhand like Djokovic, a forehand like Nadal. He's got the speed and defense of Nadal and Djokovic. One of the best drop shots. He doesn't volley like the guys in the 90s, but he volleys better than anyone in the recent generation, like the last 15 years or so. So, and then mentally, he's the best under pressure. Like, he's beat Djokovic in a Wimbledon final in a 5th set and at Madrid in a last set tiebreaker when he was like 19. Djokovic has been the best guy under pressure, but didn't start good under pressure. But all that time, he got to where he got. Whereas Alcaraz could just say at 19, I don't even need the experience. I'm at least equal to you under pressure. So he has that. And then the other thing, he didn't have the consistency. But like everybody's peak starts at 22. He's 22, and now he's hit the consistency. And he even got 4 Grand Slams before his peak, so that's a head start. So 30 for Alcaraz. Alcaraz is a champion, US Open champion, 2025, Carlos Alcaraz. Subscribe, bell notification, thumbs up. I'll be back in a few weeks before Shanghai Masters. I'll preview that, but subscribe, bell notification, thumbs up. Be back for my next video. Bye for now, and thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for being with me, guys. See you guys soon. Subscribe, bell notification, thumbs up. Bye for now.